The official AHA 2024-25 Junior Hockey League rankings are out. And honestly, you guys are gonna wanna stick around because this list has changed so much from the last year that you guys are gonna be blown away as to how complete this list is and what are actually the best programs to advance you to the NCAA level. So stick around and find out what the list is. What's going on, guys? For those of you who are new here, my name is 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗴 and I'm the CEO and founder of Advancement Hockey Advising. And today we are going through our most controversial video for sure. Every time that we release these rankings, people go crazy. The keyboard warriors start coming out, the haters start attacking us, but it's okay because we want to give you guys the data, the truth. And this video here, we did a ton of research. We really made sure that the data was accurate and we made the most accurate, comprehensive junior hockey list that we could when it comes to the rankings. So definitely, hopefully you guys get value out of this video. If you do, absolutely destroy that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. And all that said, let's dive right into the rankings right now. Just kidding, real quick, before we do two caveats here, the first big metric that we're using when it comes to ranking these leagues is NCAA advancements in the past year, okay? Not the past 5 years like we typically do because this is more of an update video, so it's gonna be the past year because so much has changed in junior hockey the past year that we thought the past year would be the most accurate thing. We are considering caliber, that's the second metric that we're considering, but it's more of a subjective thing, right? So when I watch hockey, when our team watches hockey, you know, it's more subjective. Advancements is a bit more objective, which is why it's our #1 metric, but caliber still comes into play for a couple nuanced decisions that we made here. So without further ado, now let's dive right into the rankings. All right, so #1 on our list here, and comes as no surprise as always, is the USHL, because obviously this league has the best caliber. It's almost like a major junior league. Honestly, it's tier 1 for a reason, and it advances the most players to NCAA D1 hockey. So last year, in just one season, they advanced 358 players to the NCAA D1 level, which is like bonkers when you really think about it. The league has 16 teams, so with that being said, it's probably a 90 to 95% advancement rate with only 16 teams with that many guys advancing D1, which is actually bonkers. The quality of the D1 institutions that they're advancing to is phenomenal. Honestly, it's usually all the higher end D1 schools that they advance to, and the amount of NHL draft picks that they get is also quite high. So overall, the USHL by far the best junior league when it comes to advancing NCAA and even getting drafted in the NHL. All right, moving on to #2 on our list, and this is gonna shock a lot of people, but because of the recent changes that happened in the junior hockey landscape, BCHL is at #2 over the NAHL. We had them tied last year, but now the stats show otherwise based on the changes and the BCHL going unsanctioned the previous year. So with 21 teams in the league the past season, the BCHL advanced 292 players to the D1 level, which is a huge jump from the amount that they advanced the year prior. That's because of the merge, like the Brooks Bandits and a bunch of other AJ teams merging with the BCHL, going unsanctioned and all that stuff, really like propelled the BCHL to another level, to the point where like maybe at one point they might start competing with the USHL. I never thought I would see this, but this is actually quite crazy when you think about it. The huge leap and jump that they made, drastically higher than the NAHL that we're gonna get to in a little bit. Other mentions on advancements, they advanced 14 to the U Sports level. Most go NCAA D1 from the league, but some do decide to go U Sports, and they did advance 6 to the NCAA D3 level, which is much less than the NAHL, but it makes sense because most guys playing in the BCHL, they're probably not gonna look to go play NCAA D3 hockey and pay to play. It probably makes more sense for them to either go straight to pro, straight to U Sports, or just a different avenue than NCAA D3. So that makes a lot of sense. Overall, the BCHL's caliber is phenomenal, and it's a great league to go to if your goal is to play NCAA D1. Very hard league to get to, especially now that I think it's really jumped a tier, to be honest, and it's only going to keep going higher and higher, I believe, in the next 5 years. So it's really going to be exciting to see how far away they might get from the NHL and how close they're going to get to the USHL. Maybe at one point they'll surpass them. I don't think so. I think the USHL is always going to be the top, but you never know. It's exciting to see how things are going to move forward. And now moving on to #3, which comes as no surprise because I mentioned it enough times with the BCHL, and that is the NAHL. Now, all you haters, all you lovers, fanboys of the NAHL, and all the haters of the BCHL, don't attack me just yet because the data really speaks for itself with the jump that the BCHL made compared to what the NHL or the NAHL is at in terms of the stats here. So let's dive into it. So the NAHL has 35 teams in total, so a much bigger league than the BCHL, which has 21 teams. And the NAHL only advanced 262 players to the NCAA D1 level last year, which is still no like bad feat. You know, don't get me wrong. That's a huge accomplishment and really solidifies the NAHL as a top league to go to with good caliber and all that stuff. But you just can't compare it to the BCHL that did more, like about 30 or so more NCAA D1 advancements, which with almost like half the teams, you know, with less teams in the league compared to the NA. So the NAHL advanced 116 players to the D3 level last year. So that's like a great feat as well. Usually the NA, if you play there, you're gonna get a D3 commitment no matter what, you know, unless you're really a guy getting scratched all the time and all that stuff. But most guys end up getting a D3 commitment, and a lot of guys get a D1 commitment. The high-end players in that league usually get D1 commitments. All right, now moving on to number 4 in our league, and this league has not changed in position, and that is the AJHL. I was worried, you know, based on all the good teams really moving out of the AJ, that they weren't gonna have too much left, but they still remain at number 4 when it comes to advancements here. The league has 12 teams. They added the Devon Extreme to the league, and last year they moved on 26 players to the NCAA D1 level. Now, huge drop off compared to the NAHL, right? But they still advanced 26. So that still means that the top 2 to 3 players on each team actually do get NCAA D1 commitments, which is actually a good step up from all the other leagues that we're gonna mention here. Something that's noteworthy too is they advanced 9 to the U Sports level, so they do advance quite a few to the U Sports level, and they advanced 11 to the NCAA D3 level. So again, similar to the BCHL, I think most guys don't go play D3 from that league. They usually go U Sports, or they might go Pro or something like that, but you do see some advance to the D3 level. All right, now this is where it starts to get interesting. The rankings list completely changed from the past year prior. So at number 5, we have the SJHL, which is actually crazy to think about because they were much lower on the list the year before, but the SJ and another league that we're gonna mention here really crept their way at the top of the list here. So out of 12 teams in the SJ, you have 13 NCAA D1 advancements the past year, you have 15 U Sports advancements, and you have 17 NCAA D3 advancements. Now you see there's a huge drop off between the SJ and the AJ, right? There's a big drop off, but they still have like that would mean out of 12 teams, the top player on average on the SJ team basically advances a player to NCAA D1. Now, obviously some teams are gonna be more concentrated than others, but typically it's only the top player or 2 on each team that really get that NCAA D1 commitment. But the reason why I'm ranking the SJ here, the other leagues below this have very similar numbers, but the SJ is ranked above, and this is where the subjective thing comes in when I'm watching hockey. I feel like the SJ is a great league in terms of skill. It's a great league in terms of physicality altogether, and it outcompetes the other 2 leagues in terms of caliber, even though their numbers are quite similar. It's really a neck and neck race. It's really the caliber and the grind and the skill in that league that makes me rank them at number 5 versus number 6 and number 7 that we're gonna mention here. At number 6, we have the CCHL. The CCHL is composed of 12 teams, and it had 12 NCAA D1 commits last year, so 1 less than the SJ. And it had 10 U Sports commits and 13 NCAA D3 commits. So overall, in terms of the stats, just a little bit less than the SJ, and overall I would say the skill just a slight decrease from the SJ. They're very similar, but the skill I would say just maybe a slight drop off, and the physicality a big drop off. So I have to give the edge to the SJ overall. That's why we're ranking the SJ number 5 and the CCHL number 6. All right, now moving on to number 7 on our list here, and this is where it might get a little bit controversial, the MJHL, all right, in Manitoba, and they definitely creeped up our list much more than what they were before. The SJ and MJ really came up the ranks here. Here's why that we're ranking them number 7 below the CCHL and the SJ. They have 13 teams, so 1 extra team compared to the other 2 leagues. They have 17 D1 advancements the last year. It was a really great season for them, honestly, but based on their history, we haven't seen that many NCAA D1 advancements out of the MJHL. Now, 17 is higher than the CC and the SJ, but that being said, they have 1 extra team, so the per capita rate changes a little bit, still a little bit higher than CC and SJ, but when it comes to U Sports and D3 advancements, similar as well. I would say the biggest thing when it comes to the MJ is just the caliber overall. If you objectively watch the SJHL, the CCHL, and the MJ, I would say the skill level is slightly below in the MJ. Not by much, but slightly below for me to justify putting them under. This is where like the haters, keyboard warriors are gonna come in, but I have to say for now, the MJ I put slightly below. Who knows, as the hockey kind of progresses, as the seasons progress in the next couple of years, maybe the MJ is gonna start creeping up if they keep putting out this many NCAA D1 commitments and the caliber steadily keeps climbing up. I also forgot to mention 14 NCAA D3 advancements and 6 U Sports advancements when it comes to the MJ, similar numbers as the CC and the SJ. All right, now moving on to number 8, and we have the NCDC, which changed quite a bit because it used to be ranked neck and neck with the CCHL. Here's why we're putting them at number 8, even below the MJ NOJHL. So out of 21 teams in the league, they've only advanced 14 NCAA D1 players, which per capita is much less compared to the MJ, the SJ, and the CCHL. So I have to rank them below that. When it comes to the D3 level, they advanced 126 players to the D3 level, which is very good. Honestly, it means they're advancing a lot of guys to D3. And in the NCDC, it's usually mid to high end D3 that they're advancing. It's not these low end D3 schools. So overall, the NCDC, really good league, really good skill, very similar to the CCHL in style, but the stats don't lie, and we have to rank them below the SJ, CCHL, and MJ just because per capita they advance much less to the NCAA D1 level, especially for last year. All right, now moving on to number 9, we have the OJHL. And a lot of OJ lovers are actually gonna hate me for this one. Keyboard warriors, I can already smell them coming out. There's a few reasons why we're ranking them at number 9. First off, it's a huge league, and there's a huge discrepancy between the top teams in the league and the bottom teams of the league. The top teams, honestly, I would rank them like similar to the SJ, CCHL, MJ level. Honestly, the top teams are very good in this league. Bottom teams, honestly, not so great, and they really like go more towards like NOJHL type level. So honestly, not the best spot to go to if it's the bottom teams, but the top teams are quite good. The other tricky part with this is they don't release their stats on their website. So we did a ton of research to try and find them. We couldn't find accurate stats, but from the research that we could do, honestly, when it comes per capita, the NCAA D1 and D3 commitment levels are much lower, or not much, but are lower than the other leagues that we've ranked. So we've done some, but unfortunately I can't share like some hard numbers for you guys. But from the research that we've done, from the hockey that I've watched, the top teams versus the bottom teams having this huge discrepancy, this is why we're rationalizing putting the OJ at number 9 on our list. All right, now for the next chunk of our list, the focus is gonna be less to NCAA D1 advancement and more towards NCAA D3 advancement because we're going lower down in the caliber of the leagues here. So at number 10 on our list, we have the EHL. It's no surprise because the EHL is great when it comes to advancing players to the NCAA D3 level. Out of 21 teams, they have 154 NCAA D3 advancements, which solidifies their whole goal and their whole league motto that we advance players to the NCAA D3 level. So if that's your goal, if you're an older guy, 18, 19, 20 years old, and your goal is to play D3 hockey, and you can't get a good tier 2 option, I would say basically the EHL is a great league to go to above the other leagues that I'm going to mention. Moving on to number 11 on our list here, and that is the NOJHL. It has 12 teams that it's composed to, and basically it advanced 25 players to the NCAA D3 level. Now, even if you compare it to the EHL, per capita, like if you increase the number by 2, it's still not nearly as many as the EHL. So when it comes to advancing, the EHL is better than the NOJHL. I will say this, the NOJHL actually moved on a guy to NCAA D1 the past year. So one move on to NCAA D1, but this is rare. It doesn't happen often, and it's a one-off. So don't think that, oh, I'm gonna go get a great commit to Notre Dame basically out of the NOJHL. It's not really how it works. They do have these one-off players that do advance sometimes, but mainly it's a D3 league that advances to, and it's not quite as effective at doing it as the EHL. All right, now moving on to number 12, and we have a tie here actually at number 12 because the stats are so similar, the leagues are so similar that I had to give a tie. So we have the USPHL Premier and we have the NA3HL. Historically, I'd rank the USPHL Premier a little bit higher than the NA3, but the stats don't lie here, and I don't want to mislead you guys. I'm going to give them a neck and neck tie. So here are the stats. All right, so the USPHL Premier has 73 teams, and it's only continuing to expand to Canada and to everything, so it's a huge league. Has 82 NCAA D3 advancements, and it has 203 ACHA advancements, and that's ACHA D1, D2, D3, mainly D1 and D2. But overall, if you look at the numbers here for the USPHL Premier, only about one player per team really advances on average. Now, some teams are more clustered compared to other players, but overall, you really have to be a top player in this league to get D3 commit. If not, you're gonna go to ACHA. It's very similar for the NA3HL. The NA3 is a smaller league, 35 teams, still a big league, but definitely smaller than the USP Premier. It has 38 NCAA D3 advancements, and it has 103 ACHA advancements, mainly ACHA D1 and D2 as well. So overall, the NA3, because it's smaller, like about half the size as the USP Premier, has half the amount of NCAA D3 and ACHA advancements, but if you double it, it becomes basically the same stats overall as USP Premier. So these leagues overall mainly move guys on to ACHA. They do move on their top players to NCAA D3. The biggest takeaway with these leagues is you have to play with a top team that has a history of advancing players. If you play for a bottom team, forget about it. You're not gonna get good offers. Play for a top team, you get good ice time, you're ready to go. You'll probably get some decent commitment offers from it. So overall, that's what I would say for these leagues here. All right, now number 13 on our list here is the GOJHL in the Ontario area. Now, before you keyboard warriors and haters start coming at me saying it's a junior B league, what are you talking about? It's not a junior A league. I know that, okay? But the GOJHL is different from most other junior B leagues where the caliber is quite good and they actually do move guys on. A lot of guys come from major junior, they play the GOJHL, some go to the GOJ and then they play major junior. You know, some guys actually end up advancing pro from that league. And you do see NCAA D3 commitments out of this league too. Very rare, but it does happen because the caliber is really good. The reason why it's rare is that most guys have their eligibility burnt anyways because they play major junior and they're just coming back down a level to get paid basically and go to university and all that stuff. But you do find the odd player here that markets themselves well, that sends video to coaches and coaches commit out of that league. Doesn't happen often and it's usually only with the mid to top end teams in that league, but overall it does happen and it's a really good league with good caliber, which is actually better than the other leagues that I'm going to mention here. So I want to give a shout out to the GOJ and rank it in this junior A sphere when it comes to advancing players to NCAA hockey. All right, now number 14 on our list here is the SIJHL, located in the Thunder Bay area and Northern Ontario, so way up there. But overall, there's 8 teams in this league and we only have 4 NCAA D3 advancements, okay? That's pretty much it. We didn't look into the ACHA stats too much, but only 4 out of 8 teams, so you really have to be like a top player in that league to get an advancement, and you really need an advisor or somebody marketing you or doing it yourself a lot because the D3 schools don't really scout in that league very much. You really have to push yourself and market yourself because you don't really see that many advancements from that league, and it's in the middle of nowhere, so I don't blame the coaches not to go scouting over there. And there's only 8 teams with 4 advancements, so because it's a smaller league, like if you're one of the top guys in there, you do have a chance to move on. So something to consider, but I would say the other options above are probably better spots to go to compared to the SI. All right, now the next 2 leagues on this list here. I was very disappointed when I looked at the stats. In my mind, with their bump up to Junior A Tier 2 status in Canada by Hockey Canada would have made a big difference. I really thought, like, based on the caliber that I was watching, it seemed like it had a bump in caliber, but the stats do not show this, and unfortunately, they're down in the rankings here. So number 15 on our list is the KIJHL out in BC. Basically, with this league, is they just got bumped up this past year to Junior A Tier 2 status by Hockey Canada. They have 22 teams in the league, and unfortunately, only 4 NCAA D3 advancements, which is the same as the SIJHL, but way more teams, so the per capita rate is even worse. So I was like kind of baffled when I saw this. I thought the numbers were wrong, so we went and did the research again, and unfortunately that's the reality. They do advance them to the BCIHL, which is collegiate in BC area. So they advance there. They do advance some players to the BCHL, ACHA, and all that, but overall, not that many advancements, which was a little bit disappointing when I saw this. And now moving on to number 16 on our list is the VIJHL, also located in the BC area. Honestly, this one I was debating including in our actual list or in the list of not to go to, but it's hard to include it there because I have heard a few success stories from it. I've heard of some advancements to the D3 level, but unfortunately their stats aren't on their website. So they have 11 teams, but it's hard for me to know where to rank them and all that stuff if I don't see the stats. I've heard of a few stories, but nothing's confirmed really. But I've heard that a few guys advanced to the NCAA D3 levels out of 11 teams. So not terrible, but still not. I thought with the VI and the KI, getting that bump up, they would do a lot better, but unfortunately, that's not the case for them. So in terms of like caliber, subjective view, I think the KI does have better, hockey in terms of caliber compared to the VI. Time will only tell with this, and hopefully this league actually publishes their stats on their website so we can give a more accurate representation here. All right, now let's dive into the special leagues here. So 2 leagues that aren't on this list here, but in terms of caliber are quite good and should actually get, like, I would say more around the NOJHL to even a little bit higher level, maybe pushing the EHL, OJHL level. These leagues are good, but they do not focus on NCAA, and I hope this changes in the future. But as of now, they don't focus on it, and I can't give them a fair ranking on this list because that's not their prime focus. But in terms of caliber, they're actually good. So league number 1 is the MHL out in the Maritimes. Really good league in terms of caliber, but just the mindset is just not to push NCAA. It's starting to change a little bit. I'm seeing in this league, they're starting to move guys on NCAA, but it's still not the main focus. It's mainly guys coming down from major junior. So that's one league. The other one is Junior AAA League in Quebec. And again, unfortunately, this league, For whatever reason, Quebec only wants to push Major Junior, and this league is kind of like the graveyard league that they call it. It's guys that come down, finish out their career, and that's it. And you almost don't see any NCAA advancements from there because it's just not the whole goal of this league. Hopefully they change their mindset to in the future, but for now, these two leagues, I just can't rank them yet in our rankings list. All right, now to finish off the video here, we have 10 leagues that I want to rank that I really want to implore you guys that it's probably just not worth it to go to altogether, except for special situations. It could always, like some players, you do hear these success stories and stuff, but for these leagues, I just strongly recommend not going to it because there's so many other leagues and better options out there. So here are the 10 leagues. Number one's a bit of a combo, but it's the USPHL Premier and the NA3HL bottom end teams. Okay, those teams usually not worth it to go to at all. Number two is the PJHL in Ontario. It used to be like a bunch of different junior C leagues, got kind of merged together. Now it's this big league that's almost kind of like the USPHL Premier, but just worse, honestly. Just not a great spot to go to for the most part. Number three, we have the EHL Premier, which is a step under the EHL. Number four, we have the USPHL Elite, which is a step under the USPHL Premier, which is a step under the NCDC. So you can kind of see where it goes. Number five, we have all the junior B leagues in Canada. There's so many of them. Honestly, we're just kind of lumping them all together. All the junior B leagues except for the 𝗏𝗏, honestly, are just not a great spot to go to. Very rare where it does make sense for a player to go there. Number six, we have the CAJHL in Alberta, the Can-Am Junior Hockey League. Not a great spot. Number seven, we have the MMJHL in Manitoba. Also not a great spot to go to. Number eight, we have the NJHL in Alberta. Also not a great spot to go to. Big focus on Indigenous culture, but honestly, for goals to advance, not the spot. Number nine, we have the GMHL, or the Greater Metro Hockey League in Ontario. I've given my thoughts in depth about this league, but just not a great league to go to. And number 10, finally, is all the junior C leagues in Canada. And there's a ton of them, again, similar to junior B leagues. Just probably the worst spot you can go to, unless your goal is just to have fun and play hockey. But overall, just not a great spot to go to if your goal is to advance. All right, my friends, I know this was a long video and very comprehensive, even more than the past years, and so much has changed with these rankings lists. So I know a lot of you guys are gonna have a lot to say about this. Let me know what your thoughts are overall. If you haven't hit that like button yet, definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, notification bell. Keep watching here or here if you wanna keep watching. Send us some comments down below, send them some love, send us some hate, whatever you wanna do. We'll catch you on that next one. Thanks for watching, guys.